What is an airport if not a mecca for the start of adventures, safety, and overpriced coffee? Well, it might be some of that at least, but it's also a place where thousands of guns still show up at checkpoints, where children have lower reading scores and memory deficits if they live nearby, and where people can get stranded for months, even years. Thankfully, it's not all doom and gloom. I promise, there are a few fun ones there too. Especially if you like hearing about how turtle migration shut one down or how falcons are keeping us safe. But before we begin, don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on any new content. It truly helps the channel. Now without further ado, I'm Mike with List 25, and here are 25 surprising facts about airports. 25. Thousands of guns turn up at checkpoints. Every year, thousands of firearms are discovered in carry-on luggage at airport checkpoints across the U.S. In 2022, the Transportation Security Administration, or TSA, intercepted 6,542. And if you're thinking, that doesn't sound too bad, you should know that more than 88% of them were loaded. That number climbed again the following year, with 6,737, which averages to about 1 for every 17 passengers screened per day. How about that? Most of the people who got caught claimed they had forgotten the weapon was in their bag, which actually raises questions of their own, but regardless of intent, the consequences are serious. Violators face fines of up to $15,000 and an automatic loss of TSA pre-check privileges. So the next time you're standing in that security line, remember, those trays might be holding more than just keys, wallets, laptops, and shoes. 24. A baggage handler once stole a plane. In August 2018, a 28-year-old ground crew member named Richard Russell worked for Horizon Air, towing aircraft and loading luggage. He had absolutely zero formal pilot training. And yet, Russell somehow taxied a Dash 8 Q400 out of its parking spot, made an unauthorized takeoff, then spent over an hour performing acrobatics, including a barrel roll, before crashing into the woods on Ketron Island just off the coast of Washington. Quite ballsy, yes, but he also did that despite 2 F-15 jets being scrambled to intercept him. I don't think ballsy quite cuts it. The incident exposed massive access and security failures. How does someone with baggage handler clearance end up flying a commercial plane? The FBI ruled out terrorism, but said Russell acted alone and intentionally crashed the aircraft. 23. It can get too hot for planes to fly. In June 2017, Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport hit a blistering 118 degrees Fahrenheit. Dozens of flights were grounded, not because of engine trouble or storms, but because the air itself was too thin to lift the planes. When air heats up, it expands and loses density, which means wings and engines have less to push against. Smaller jets like the Bombardier CRJ couldn't handle it, forcing American Airlines to cancel around 50 flights in one day. This phenomenon isn't limited to just Phoenix. Airports in places like Dubai, Las Vegas, and Delhi have faced similar problems, with pilots needing longer runways and lighter loads to get airborne. Pilots call it high-density altitude, and it's blamed for more than 7% of all weather-related crashes in the US. 22. The worst air disaster happened on the ground. Before it became aviation's biggest tragedy, the Tenerife disaster started with a bomb threat. That single event forced several flights to divert to Los Rodeos, a tiny airport in the Canary Islands that wasn't built to handle that much traffic. Add in heavy fog, poor visibility, and a few radio miscommunications, and, well, they created the setup for tragedy. 2 fully loaded Boeing 747s, one from KLM and one from Pan Am, ended up on the same runway at the same time. The KLM captain began takeoff without realizing the Pan Am jet was still taxiing ahead. Moments later, both aircraft collided in the fog, killing 583 people and leaving only 61 survivors. 21. Falcons and dogs are keeping airports safe. Bird strikes happen thousands of times a year, with more than 180,000 reported in the US between 1990 and 2015. So, in an effort to minimize the risk, airports have started using trained falcons, hawks, and dogs to keep planes and passengers safe. Vancouver International actually has a team of falconers who fly captive-bred raptors to chase flocks of geese and gulls away from the runways. Other airports use specially trained dogs to patrol the airfield to keep wildlife from getting too close to active planes. These programs have been incredibly successful. For example, that Vancouver program moves close to 1 million birds out of aircraft operating areas every year. 20. Drones have stranded thousands of travelers. In recent years, drones have caused chaos at airports around the world. Flights have been grounded in places like Dubai, Singapore, Frankfurt, and Heathrow, each time leaving thousands of travelers stuck in terminals while authorities scramble to clear the airspace. The most famous case happened at Gatwick in England in December 2018 when repeated drone sightings shut the airport down for nearly 2 days. More than 120,000 passengers were stranded and over 1,000 flights were affected before the military stepped in with signal jamming equipment. Investigators believe the drones were modified with extra batteries to stay in the air longer than commercial models. Since then, airports have started testing detection systems and electronic fences, but it's still a cat and mouse game. 19. When it comes to world records, King Fahd International in Dammam covers roughly 780 square kilometers, or about 301 square miles. That makes it bigger than the entire country of Bahrain, and almost the size of New York City. What's even more astounding is that most of that land isn't even used. Only a small portion holds the terminals, runways, and support buildings, while the rest is reserved for future expansion. The airport opened in 1999 and includes a royal terminal for the Saudi royal family and visiting heads of state. It also has its own mosque that can hold 2,000 worshippers at once. 18. The world's largest airport therapy animal team. Still on the subject of world records, the Denver International Airport in Colorado earned its Guinness World Record in 2021 for having the largest therapy animal program of any airport in the world. 87 owner and pet teams make up the Canine Airport Therapy Squad, or CATS for short, even though there isn't a single cat on the roster. These dogs roam the concourses wearing blue and plaid vests that say "Pet Me," offering travelers a break from flight delays, turbulence, and general airport chaos. The program is so popular that it's inspired similar ones at airports in Los Angeles, San Francisco, and Miami. Yes, but does anyone but my airport have a giant flamingo? Shout out to Phoebe. If you've ever been to Tampa International and you've seen Phoebe, you know. 17. Walkways curve to the left on purpose. The next time you find yourself walking through an airport, pay attention to the layout. Airports have a few psychological tricks up their sleeves, and the walkways bend to the left for a reason. Studies by Intervistas found that because most people are right-handed, they naturally look to the right while walking. So when a walkway bends left, it opens up more space on the right side for shops, signs, and displays, exactly where your eyes tend to wander. After you clear security, you're usually funneled into a calm stretch of flooring, followed by a long curve lined with stores, snacks, and duty-free temptations. It's called the recomposition zone, and it's designed to ease you out of any anxiety or stress and get you into spending mode. 16. There's a reason security officers like to get conversational. In the early 2000s, the TSA started an ambitious project to train officers to spot suspicious behavior in travelers. It was called the Screening of Passengers by Observation Techniques, or SPOT, and it relied on a list of more than 90 facial cues and gestures that was thought to reveal stress or deception. The idea sounds scientific enough, but after years of use and hundreds of millions spent, the results told a different story. Researchers found that people are no better at spotting lies from body language than they are at guessing a coin toss. That finding pushed psychologists to test a new method that focused on conversation instead of observation. Officers were taught to ask open-ended questions and look for hesitation or inconsistency rather than a nervous blink. Today, this conversational method identifies more than 60%, or roughly 2/3 of deceptive passengers, compared to 3% under the old system. 15. The people who lived at airports. Most of us know the story of Mehran Karimi Nasseri, the Iranian refugee who lived at Paris Charles de Gaulle Airport for 18 years. His experience even inspired Tom Hanks' film The Terminal. But he wasn't the only one who ended up calling an airport home. A man named Anthony Delaney reportedly lived at Manchester Airport in England for 3 years. Then there was Zara Kalmofar, an Iranian woman who spent 10 months living in Moscow's Sheremetyevo Airport with her 2 children while awaiting asylum. In 2015, a Syrian family, Hassan and Gulistan Ahmad and their 4 children, found themselves in the exact same airport after their documents were confiscated by Russian authorities. They lived inside a disused glass smoking booth, surviving on donated food and water from travelers. Their passports were finally verified after 50 days, and the family was granted temporary asylum in Russia. 14. They like to keep quiet about their free stuff. If you've ever spent a long layover thinking there's nothing to do, well, you've been missing out. Airports are full of free stuff most travelers never hear about. There are yoga rooms at San Francisco, Dallas, Fort Worth, and Chicago O'Hare, plus an actual movie theater at Portland International. Miami and San Francisco both have museum-style galleries, while chapels, refill stations, and play zones are quietly tucked between terminals. The catch is that none of it is advertised, because they prefer it if you stick to the duty-free shops instead of discovering the better spots in the building. If you do ever want to track them down, the website sleepinginairports.net keeps an updated list of free airport amenities around the world. You'll also find a lot of it on money.com. Trust me, go have a look before your next trip. 13. Your face is becoming your boarding pass. The days of juggling paper passes and digging for your ID are slowly disappearing. Airports are starting to use facial recognition instead, matching your face to the photo in your passport before you even reach the gate. If everything checks out, you just walk up, look at the camera, and board. Los Angeles, Dubai, and Tokyo have already put the system to work, and Europe plans to expand it under a new entry and exit program launching in 2025. It's fast, efficient, and less likely to hold up a boarding line, but, as you can imagine, not everyone's thrilled about it. Travelers like the convenience, but we all have to think about our privacy and how our data is going to be handled. Either way, it's spreading quickly. 12. Growing up near airports can impair children's learning. A team from Cornell University followed 326 school children near Munich during the 90s, when one airport was closing and another was opening nearby. The results of their study were hard to ignore. The children who went from quiet neighborhoods to areas under the new flight paths showed slower reading development and weaker long-term memory. Meanwhile, the kids who moved from noisy areas to quieter ones began to recover those skills over time. According to environmental psychologist Gary Evans, the study confirmed that long-term exposure to loud aircraft noise directly interferes with reading, attention, and memory, and it's one of the clearest examples of how something as ordinary as where a runway sits can influence how well a child learns to read. 11. Singapore's airport has a butterfly garden and waterfall. Repeatedly ranked one of the best in the world, Singapore's Changi Airport is the only airport where you can walk off a long flight straight into a tropical garden filled with live butterflies. The butterfly garden spans 2 levels and is home to more than 1,000 butterflies fluttering around a 6-meter waterfall and rows of blooming tropical plants. And that's just one corner of the place. Changi also has a rooftop swimming pool, a 24-hour movie theater, a sunflower garden, and the famous 40-meter indoor waterfall at Jewel. It's one of the only airports where people actually schedule extra layovers just to stay a little bit longer. And when I was there back in 2019, there was a slide, so you could actually slide all the way down to baggage claim. So that was neat. Beautiful airport. They also had a Harry Potter exhibit. That was cool too. I'll give my editor some more, so all of those photos, and we'll see what he picks. 10. You're meant to see the planes. Architects design airport terminals so you can see the tarmac and the tails of airplanes as soon as possible. It's a simple visual cue that helps travelers instinctively know where to go. The idea comes from something called wayfinding, which uses architecture and light to guide people without relying too much on signs. So that first glimpse of the runway isn't just for atmosphere. It's there to anchor you and to remind you that no matter how confusing the terminal might look, your destination is in that direction. 9. Turtle traffic. In New York, the phrase runway traffic can mean something completely different. Every summer, diamondback terrapins crawl out of Jamaica Bay and cross the runway at JFK International to lay their eggs in the warm sand beyond runway 4L. The migration peaks in late June, and one year it brought the airport to a crawl. Flights got delayed, the runway was closed for over an hour, and the radio chatter between the pilots started sounding more like a wildlife report than air traffic control. Crews fanned out with buckets and nets and carefully relocated dozens of turtles to safety while jets idled on the tarmac. The Port Authority eventually installed low barriers and wildlife fencing to reduce future crossings, but small-scale ones still happen every nesting season. 8. Airports are job machines. Step inside a major airport and you're walking through one of the busiest workplaces on Earth. At Hartsfield-Jackson in Atlanta, more than 63,000 people clock in every day, from pilots and gate agents to janitors, cooks, and customs officers. Add in the ripple effect of hotels, restaurants, logistics, and airport vendors, and the number of jobs connected to ATL climbs close to 250,000. It is the largest single employer in Georgia, and one of the biggest job hubs in the entire country. Every flight that takes off carries more than passengers. It carries paychecks, small business contracts, and tax revenue that ripples across the state. When people say airports are like small cities, they're not exaggerating. They have their own police, fire departments, transit systems, and even mayors of sorts. So when flights slow down or terminals close, the ripple isn't just about travelers missing connections. It hits local economies, paychecks, and small businesses too. I technically work at Tampa International Airport. So if you see me there, say hello. I've actually had a few fans run into me. It's always nice. Hi guys, those of you who have met me at Tampa International, hello. 7. What it's really like inside the control tower. Thanks to the few times Hollywood ventured into control rooms, most of us have the idea that they're full of headsets, alarms, and people shouting over blinking monitors. The truth, however, is that the tower is one of the calmest rooms in aviation. Controllers are trained for composure from day one. Before they ever touch a radio, applicants go through months of aptitude testing for memory, spatial awareness, and decision speed. Only a small fraction make it through. Those who do spend close to a year in specialized academies, running endless simulations before shadowing senior controllers on live airspace. And once they're certified, they work under strict shift limits to keep fatigue low. So they rely on layered systems, clear communication, and structure, not adrenaline. 6. Airport staff don't always go through security. It might surprise you to learn that not everyone working in an airport goes through security the way passengers do. In fact, many employees don't pass through metal detectors or bag scanners every day at all. That's because their clearance happens long before they ever reach the terminal. Anyone who needs access to restricted areas must first pass a background investigation that digs into criminal history, immigration status, and potential security threats. Once they've got that badge, they can often move freely through certain entrances reserved for staff. At some airports, random spot checks are in place, but only a few, like Miami and Orlando, require full daily screenings for all workers. At some airports, random spot checks are in place, but only a few, like Miami and Orlando, require full daily screenings for all workers. The system relies on trust and vetting instead of repetition, and while that saves time, it has been leaving quite a few gaps. 5. Some scanners still miss things. Airport scanners have come a long way since the outdated backscatter X-rays of the early 2010s, but the latest models still have blind spots. The millimeter wave systems used in most airports are safer, faster, and more private, yet they can have issues when it comes to identifying low-density materials like powders or thin plastics. That's one reason smugglers still test creative hiding spots. The TSA has started rolling out 3D CT scanners that give screeners a full view of bags from every angle, but only about 255 airports have them so far. That means some passengers are still being scanned by older machines that can't always tell the difference between a bottle of water and a liquid explosive. 4. Airports make a lot of their money from shopping. I just had to circle back to this. If an airport gets built to get your eyes on the shops, there has to be a good reason for it. And that reason is money. A lot of it. In 2024, Dubai International's duty-free operation sold more than $2.16 billion worth of perfume, liquor, and gold, breaking every record the airport ever had. It's now one of the largest single airport retail operations in the world, and it's not even a mall. Globally, airport shopping isn't pocket change either. Analysts valued the airport retail market at nearly $100 billion in 2023, with forecasts pushing that figure to around $159 billion by 2032. Non-aeronautical revenue, like retail, dining, and parking, now makes up roughly 35 to 40% of total airport income worldwide. So, flying might get you to your destination, but shopping is what really keeps the airport going. 3. Even the restrooms are getting smarter. Miami International, Los Angeles, and Dallas-Fort Worth have bathrooms with sensors that count visitors, track supply levels, and flag stalls that need attention. Those little feedback screens by the exit, the ones asking if the restroom is clean, actually feed live data straight to supervisors. If a space racks up too many frowns, a cleaning crew is dispatched before anyone files a complaint. Miami uses this system across nearly 200 restrooms, while LAX has used the same setup since 2018 to keep track of the traffic and the supplies used. Singapore's Changi Airport joined in, linking its smart washrooms to a network that measures odor, humidity, and footfall. 2. Unclaimed baggage gets sold off. Would you like to know what happens to lost luggage? According to the stats, about 92% of missing bags eventually find their owners. But after 90 days, give or take, unclaimed bags get turned over for auction or resale. In fact, there is a whole industry around it. Unclaimed Baggage in Alabama buys and sells orphan luggage to the public, and some airports will even donate or auction contents, from clothes to jewelry, if nobody claims them. 1. There actually is a sweet spot for airplane tickets. Every frequent traveler swears they have cracked that code for cheap flights. Book on a Tuesday, use an incognito tab, buy at midnight. Most of it's urban legend. If you want to get the truth, well, we've gone and found the latest statistical data. In most cases, flying midweek really can save you cash. Departures on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, or Saturdays often come with lower fares simply because demand is lighter. When it comes to how far ahead you should book, the sweet spot for domestic flights is 1 to 3 months in advance. For international travel, the window stretches to around 3 to 5 months out. So yes, planning ahead helps. If you're flexible and focused, aim for that middle window and pick a non-peak day to fly. And that's it for today. If you enjoyed this video, I think you'll love the one we did a while back, 25 secrets flight attendants know that you don't. You'll see the link for that video pop up about right here. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you again next time.